I remember my cousin, my brother-in-law actually told me this story before. I couldn't stop laughing, but he said there's a guy in church, like he's a Christian. He's been a Christian for years, and everybody know that he's a nice guy, a great guy, and he got married and then he got divorced. So when he got remarried, the whole sex before marriage thing, he believed in that more than the woman. So the ex-wife now was she met the new wife, and she was just looking at her like, I feel so sorry for you. And so it's like the wife was wondering why the ex-wife wasn't like upset that he was moving on and getting married so quick, and she was like, I'm happy, you know. Then come to realize that the guy can't last in bed at all, and she was like, you can have that.
What's going on, everyone? We are back with another episode of the Students Alive podcast. I am your host, Shane, and my co-host,
Stretch.
And today we have a special guest. Her name is Karel, the owner of this beautiful shop, Vintage Flourish Events. And yes, guys, we're going to get into it today with her. And remember, we are unlearning and we're relearning. So we're talking about love and relationships and everything of that nature. So
All the good stuff.
All the good stuff.
You see, it's your thing. You wanted to do this whole love and relationships thing.
And they've been loving it.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, so we're going to get started.
Miss Chang, Miss Karel, I want you to tell us a little bit about you. Just little basic things, nothing too much, just a little bit.
Thank you guys for having me. First of all, what is there to say about me? First, I'll start off by saying I'm a mother of two, 19-year-old and a 10-year-old college student, and one that hasn't begun middle school yet. big space in between. As she just said a while ago, I'm owner of Vintage Florist and Events. We take care of your events from start to finish, doing planning, decor, and everything in between, and also offer a daily retail floral delivery. Cash and carry is also available. As well as I've been and still am involved with a lot of community activities, giving back, especially with children, trying to help one child at a time, both locally here in Florida and in Jamaica.
Nice.
Perfect. I want to be like that whenever.
Right? I love it.
So you also are involved in events also.
Yeah.
What do you do in that aspect of?
Anything as it relates to events, as I said, from start to finish. So I meet with you, we plan, you show me your vision and your money, and then you show up. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we started season 2 here in this beautiful place and this beautiful ambiance that you have, and it just set the tone for what we were trying to accomplish for this season, with love and relationships and stuff. So you ready to talk about all that?
Ready.
All right, cool. So let's get to the first one, right, Stretchy?
Yes. Last week we left off with talking about dating, with the misinformation, the misconception, the things that we don't talk about too often when it comes to dating. So this week I want to continue that topic by talking about the period of time that it takes from when you start dating to leading up to when you get married. That time period, like males would say, a man would say, hey, listen, after these 2 years, I'm gonna propose. Or a woman would say, if you don't propose in 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, then I'm on to the next one. So what do you guys think about like that time period? What do you think is a suitable time period for a man to say, all right, I'm gonna propose now, or for a woman to say you have to propose within this time period? What's a suitable time?
Well, I would personally say it depends on the age. I think when you're younger, you probably need to take more time because then you're still developing, you're still trying to know yourself, especially when you're in college. When you start college, you're not the same person when you leave, because then, you know, you're more aware of certain things and it changes your mindset, your conception on certain things. So even, a college student, definitely nothing, probably less than two years. But it just depends on how mature you are too. When someone is in their 30s and 40s, then the 6-month period, And then it also depends on how serious you were going into the relationship. So how much of that 6 months was really just a play game or stuff. So there's so many different things, right? When you're in 40s, people will get married like after 2 months, very easy. Because at this point of your life, you know exactly what you want
to waste.
You know exactly what you want more at this time. And so if as a woman, if a man is not coming to the table in a certain way at 40 or within his 40s or beyond, then you're like, okay.
So do you?
Moving on.
But what I think about that is the problem with that is most times you don't really know a person until you're 3 months. You start seeing the real person start to come out. That's what I think. Like when a person gets comfortable, then you see their real side. Like you start seeing habits that you never seen. Like people put on a front when they just meet you. You meet their, like they say when you're dating somebody, you meet their receptionist or their executive before you actually meet the actual person. Like you meet a representative.
Yeah.
So Stretch, that's why I said that it depends on how you come into the relationship, right? And so it also depends on how you date. Like for me, going to a dinner is not a proper date.
Right.
And it has been a misconception for years.
Why do you say that though?
Because I feel that the best way to date someone is to do something interactive.
Okay.
I think that's a good form of dating as well. And for me, like I stated last episode, that to me, are we talking about just dating or are we talking about being exclusive? What are we talking about? Because when you're dating, you're just collecting data, you get to know that person. And for me personally, 3 months is like, that's it. If at 3 months we're not making it official here, then it's just not going to happen. I think that depending on the person that you are, knowing who you are, you will attract that type of person. So there's been times where you have a man that's matured to a high level to where he meets a woman and they're testing each other on every high level. So they're talking about uncomfortable conversations. They're putting themselves in having dates where they're interacting with each other. They're doing those things where they're learning each other more and more. They're seeing each other 3-4 times a week. They're actually pushing forward. Some people want to take it slow. They want to move real slow. And then you stay at surface level. And then you find out that you don't waste all this time. So once you have a motive and you know what you want and you find that person, I believe that really and truly there is no time limit.
I think I put a time limit on it, like for the reason that I just said about the getting to really know a person.
Yeah.
And then I think in order to get married to someone, you have to live with that person. You get what I'm saying? Like you don't really know a person until you live with them. I always believe that. You get me? Because I have had friends that my first friend that I had in America moved in my house after he got in some trouble, got a house arrest. He had nobody in Florida to live with me, right? And then when he got to live with me, I really got to know the real person. Like I've seen that in too many instances where you don't get to know the real person until you actually live with them.
Right.
You don't know their dirty habits. You realize they only shower once a week. They don't do their laundry. Like they don't wash the dishes in the sink. Like I'm a OCD type of person. Like everything has to be in a certain order, especially in my house. I change my sheets like every couple of days. Like that's me. Like I'm doing laundry every couple of days. Like everything has to be clean and in order. Imagine you meet somebody after 6 months. You decide you live with this person for a month out of that 6 months, right? That's not enough time to know those dirty habits that a person has.
I think that also because there's a lot of, I've been in a situation where I've been given the key, and he's like, hey, I'm not home, you can meet me at the house, whatever. So I'm there all the time, and I'm seeing all these habits, and he comes to my house and he sees all these habits, and we're kind of gauging it through that perspective. It's when it's geared towards actual intimacy relationship than from a friendship, because from a friendship you're not really up under each other that much. So even like for instance with my daughter's dad, we went through the same process. So when we did decide to live together, it was the same thing. Nothing really changed. So it just goes from I definitely would agree with we're not gonna moving with each other if we haven't even been spending time with each other in each other's homes a lot, because then you really don't know how they live, how they do things, if they clean, if they whatever.
Right.
You
And
know,
then there's a factor of hanging out with that person now, and that person don't even like watching movies or watching TV, and that's your pastime.
yeah,
Like I was talking to a friend of mine today, and he was like, he's having problems because he likes to go out and enjoy different things with friends and drink and hang out, and his girl just likes to hang out with family and watch movies and watch TV, nothing outside of the bounds of that. Go get massages like 2 times a week. That's her enjoyment, but he wants something more.
right.
You know, and he didn't realize that until he really took a step back and was like, this is not really what I'm looking for. Like, I want to enjoy these broad things. So I don't think 6 months.
Again, I strongly believe it's how you date, what you do on your dates. If you're interactive with the person, then there are a lot of things that will show up.
Sure.
I mean, if you're going out and you go skating and that kind of stuff, you will, more things will happen. And then what it does, it creates an environment for you to feel free and more relaxed. And then you get to see more of the true person.
Yes.
The other thing is that, living with someone to get to know them, yeah, it's good. But then it gets to the point where one person gets complacent. And then that marriage that you want doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And then this is what forces, like, the next thing is that the woman starts giving an ultimatum, which I believe is a big no-no.
Yeah.
Which I think it's a bad idea for a woman, the biggest mistake for a woman to give a man an ultimatum.
When it comes to marriage?
When it comes to marriage, when some girls say, listen, I've been with you for 3 years, and if we're not doing anything, I'm leaving, giving that ultimatum, it's the biggest mistake a woman can make. Why?
I think so because now, if you're happy in a relationship and you go put an ultimatum in there, now it complicates things.
It does complicate things, and then it forces the man to make a decision. And then this is why people say, man, they've been together for so many years, and then they got married and then they broke up because it was forced.
Yes.
And then they wonder why. And so those are the different things.
And another reason why I think you need more time is because I feel like people need to. The biggest misconception I see nowadays is people wait until they're actually married to live a married life. Like, people don't understand that in the relationship stage, you got to live like you're married at that point in your life before you go into that marriage.
Yeah.
Because now you can't wait until you put the ring on to start doing things or being serious about things. You got to do that before. That momentum has to be there before you go into that marriage. So after that wedding day, it's just a continuation.
Yeah.
That wedding day is just a celebration, but this life is a continuation of what started before. So I think a lot of people wait until the wedding or the marriage to say, all right, I'm a wife or I'm a husband now. Let me start doing this.
Right. And I think it goes to, like, when I was stating about, it's one thing to spend time with a person and it's another thing to do life with a person. So if you're dating and you're now in a relationship with this person, that first 6 months to a year, you should have already vetted each other to know those in and outs, and to know those your flaws and their flaws and whatever it may be. And that way you go through phases of just life, like monthly, like seasonal, right? And even like in 1 year, you could change so much as just an individual.
Yeah.
I think that it's important to communicate that with your partner. Like, okay, the beginning of the year, I was on this, but now it's springtime and we're on this level.
Right.
So now you're used to switching gears and going into different levels so that when you do get married, you're already living that lifestyle in that same type of cycle.
And then the next thing is finances is usually one of the main things that separate people in marriages. And I think that conversation is not had before you even get in a relationship, because I tell anybody I ever date or anything, the conversations that we're having is how is our life going to be 5 years down the line, 3 years down the line, 10 years down the line. You get what I'm saying? Like, I've seen people get in relationships and then realize they don't want kids. Those conversations has to be had. You get in relationships with people, like, for instance, like me, to own multiple different businesses, and my attention is like all over the place, how does someone fit in that? You know what I'm saying? Do I have to sacrifice something, sabotage something for this relationship to work? Like, we have to have those conversations. And I think people don't have those conversations enough. And that's why, like, you get into a relationship with somebody who has bad spending habits. Now when you have kids, you know, you're backed up on bills and all these things because your spending habits are bad. You don't know how to put your finances in order. As the money comes, you spend it. You're paying bills. You know, you need to take a trip. You're not budgeting all these things. Like, do you guys have separate accounts? Do you have one account to do it, does everything? Like, how do you go about that type of thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you have to look at it as you go. So if you're like for me, if I know I'm dating someone and he's always at the mall, or he's not taking proper care of his car and his place isn't up to par, I'm gonna already see those habits, and I'm already gonna know that, okay, his spending habits isn't right. Especially if he doesn't have good credit, he doesn't have a business plan, he doesn't have things in place. I think you automatically start seeing that from the first 2-3 months, and it goes back to how much pressure you applying within those first 3 to 6 months, right? So it's like, if you're not applying pressure to really see how this person moves, if you're not spending that quality time, if you're not having these conversations, you would never know these things. And then some people just make the decision, okay, we're going to move in together.
I mean, like Carol said, I mean, when you get to a certain age, you don't have the time to really have so many conversations.
Yes, you do.
No. It's
You
not,
always
It's
do.
not you don't have the time. What I'm saying is that when you're at a certain age, you know exactly what you want.
Right.
When you're in 20, sometimes you're just about living.
And that's why
And
she
then
said
everything just flows into, and then you're like, oh well, I think we can get married, or I think we're on that stage. But you know, when you have experienced partners before, you already know do's and don'ts. You already know games. You know, when you've been played once, you know when another game is coming. You just sit back and say, watch that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, there are just some things that you can pick up, and you can see the red flags faster than you probably were like a couple of years before. You know, but one of the things that I always recommend, especially being in the events business and doing marriages for many years, it's funny, I see couples come and they sit before me. And I'm like, Lord God, I don't know how long this is going to last, you know? But one of the things that I always suggest is counseling. And especially people in our ethnicity, they think that it's a bad thing. And counseling, let me just say, counseling is not because of problems. Counseling before marriage is to alleviate problems, so you have less problems. And these are the things before marriage that can be dealt with counseling. The finances, how to deal with each other. You know, there's some things that you just have to grow together with. But like, you know, how to share your situations with even your friends. You know, when you get married now, it's one. You know, whatever happens in the home stays in home.
They say they form a circle. So.
You don't want to talk to me? No, you're not gonna go to your BFF and stay there for the night. No, you're gonna go to the other room until you're ready to come into our room. But we're doing it all in the same house, and those are very important things, you know.
This episode of the Student to Life podcast is sponsored by Vintage Flowers and Events. For the Valentine's Day flowers, for your Mother's Day flowers, for your Christmas, your anniversary, whatever you need these flowers for, these teddy bears, whatever arrangements, you could hit up Vintage Flowers and Events.
Yes.
The number to call to make orders, place orders, or for more info is 754-423-4673.
Some of the traditional stuff we're losing because we don't have a template to learn from. A lot of you know people know. So that's just my take on that.
One of the other things is that I used to kind of believe it at first because it was religious, but after a while it's like, this don't make sense. It's the sex before marriage thing. I just think it just didn't make any sense. Like, one of the things that keep a relationship or marriage together is
that
sex.
so I it's so funny because I used to have that same mindset, like, what do you mean? But then the older I got, and the more I started to understand mind, body, and soul, and understanding the connection with your person, outside of intimate, physical intimacy, because you could be intimate but just not have intercourse. There's so many different things you can do to get to know that person. Me personally, I don't know if I will be ready for that. But with how social media is now, the good part of social media, they show you so many ways to enjoy your partner, your person, outside of just like the actual intercourse. And some people are, they're in religious parts of their life, or they've had a bad past and they've turned a new leaf, and then they meet someone and they're celibate. So it's like they want that person to kind of, or they would like for their person to either have an understanding or be in that same realm,
Yeah, I get that, but like I stated before, that momentum has to be there before the marriage starts and everything. So I remember my cousin, my brother-in-law actually told me this story before. I couldn't stop laughing, but he said there's a guy in church, like he's a Christian. He's been a Christian for years, and everybody know that he's a nice guy and great guy, and he got married and then he got divorced. So when he got remarried, the whole sex before marriage thing, he believed in that more than the woman. So the ex-wife now, was she met the new wife, and she was just looking at her like, I feel so sorry for you. And so it's like the wife was wondering why the ex-wife wasn't like upset that he was moving on and getting married so quick. And she was like, I'm happy, Then come to realize that the guy can't last in bed at all. And she was like, you can have that.
But you see, if you just give up on your person because of something like that, it's like, why were we even this?
I'm not gonna tell you this right now.
So,
go ahead.
I think there are so many different aspects to look on that. I think spiritually, I don't use the word religious because I don't believe in religion, but I think spiritually,
I don't either, by the way.
yeah, but we use it for people to understand, right? What we're talking about, yeah. But I think spiritually, though, I think you have to understand where that is coming from spiritually. The not having sex before marriage, yeah, and what sex really is. You know what I mean? And what it is, it's a joining of two people to make them one.
Yes.
So think about it. I don't need to know, but like all the people you've been with, how many ones you've been with, and how many times you've given of yourself and different things. So that goes into a whole different thing. So because of that, it kind of affects moving on. What sex can also do, it creates a camouflage of love that does not exist. And so what happened now when you get to the 3 months thing now, because you're not dating the right way, and because things are probably spent more in one area, because it was so amazing, because ex-wife find the one that is lasting longer. You understand? As a result of it, you think like what you didn't have in the last one, you're getting in this one, and you think that you're found complete, but it's not. Yeah, that 80-20 thing. So there are just so many ways of looking at it, but I think if you're doing all that you need to do, and when you find that person and you go through those things, if you wait a little bit, it can help to reduce that camouflage of love.
I agree 100%, because I think I'm more of a person to say let's just wait. We don't have to rush into it, because that way, like you said, we won't be blinded. Like you have sex and then the sex so good you don't even see the red flags no more. It's like green flags everywhere. So I definitely get that.
Saw it 5 minutes before, and forgot.
I ain't gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. It's important to me to know that, because my partner has to be fun in that aspect too.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing about me, like everybody knows, I hate wasting time. I show up on time to everything. My time is very important.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna spend 3 months with you and then this sex is just not good. I'm gonna be
You
upset.
can teach your woman to have sex and how you want her
Listen
to
to
have
what
sex
I'm
with
saying to you. I'm not nobody's teacher no more. I'm 31 years old. I'm over that.
So
part
let me
of my
tell you.
life.
So let me ask you: do you feel as if you know everything about sex already?
No, but guess what?
Okay,
There's some people that you have chemistry with, and some people you just don't have chemistry with at all.
So okay, well, yeah, you have sex,
And then you have to remember different people bring out different
So,
things.
Yeah.
yes, but there's some
So-
people that your chemistry with them is not like they're bad at it. You just don't have chemistry with that person.
And you can know that in 3 months without doing anything by just dating properly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you see, because you never do it before,
It's gonna bring such an intense connection between you and that
It
person.
does, of course. I agree completely. Like when I went to therapy today, we were talking about it.
therapy.
Yes, I do
He's
therapy
at
every week. Every week.
Yeah.
So when I went to therapy, my therapist said, I said to her, I'm gonna try being celibate for a while, and she said, why? So I explained the analogy of when I fast, like taking a break from food and being in control of my hunger.
Mm-hmm.
I use that the same analogy to being celibate.
Mm-hmm.
That your mind is more open
Mm-hmm.
to learning different things other than just
What you know?
what you exactly.
Mhm.
So like craving sex or craving food, like I use the analogy for the CM thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like taking a break now. You're able to like if you're hungry, and like for instance for me that don't eat meat or
Mhm.
cheese or eggs, I'm pescatarian. I'm able to go places and just if I don't find what I want, I just stay hungry.
You have discipline.
Exactly. So that is the same thing I transition to. If you're being celibate, then everything else is more important than just.
Yeah, and it'll allow you to allow your soul to take over you and not your flesh to take over. Because when your flesh takes over, you're gonna want it. Like you're gonna want food and all that stuff. And I also believe that when you fast from sex, because I fasted from sex, and it's an amazing thing. Because when you do go back and have sex, it's fine. But when you fast from sex, especially when you have a person in your life that you're actually intimate with or whatever, you just build this force within each other that's just like mind blowing.
And that transition to the next question, I think you might have a better perspective on
Yeah,
this.
because you spoke about it a little bit.
No, not that one.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna get to the
Should I be scared?
No.
Scared.
Living in separate rooms.
Yeah.
Being married and living in separate rooms.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about? Because I don't see the sense in that. Like you're over there. And
We're
married.
practicing celibacy, so you sleep there.
Not even celibacy, like
Not
just in
kidding.
general, like or living in two separate houses, being happily married, living
That's
in two
crazy.
separate houses or two separate rooms.
No. I only said that if you're in an argument and you want to walk out.
I know that, but I'm just saying in this aspect.
Yeah, some people they have two separate rooms.
Absolutely. So not two separate rooms to sleep.
Yes, they sleep in two separate
No.
rooms.
I'm just, I know that there's some crazy people. I even had a friend of mine that was married and his wife had a different house and he had a different house. And when they dated like on weekends and stuff, and they just kind of continued it. Well, the marriage didn't last. I wonder why.
Yeah.
And so it goes back to the answer of that. I think it's a absolutely no. There is just no way it works like that. I think it, especially in this day and time, with things like this and things like this, it just leaves room for
infidelity,
for everything. Yeah.
I mean, I can see from the other side.
So now, if you want to have like your room, like when guys have their
man cave,
cave and women have their room for like styling and their that they want to do their mess and whatever in. Well, yeah, I can have my room for that. You can have your thing, but at the end of the day, we come back here
in this bed.
Yeah.
I kind of understand it a little bit. Not fully because it don't make sense at all, but I understand it a little bit.
Oh, why people would do that?
Yeah, because there's some people that like their space more than anything else. I like being alone. I like my space, but when you find your best friend, when you find your life partner, when you find that soulmate, you can't go a day without thinking about that person. So I just didn't see that working out long term for you to have two separate houses, much less two separate rooms. Are you crazy? Like, there's so much to go in between that, especially if you're parents. That makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah. Especially there's kids there, they're gonna be like, what the heck is going on here?
Do you remember when you're kind of young, but do you remember the show I Love Lucy?
Oh, I remember that.
You remember I Love Lucy? She and her husband, they had two beds in that.
Oh, they had two beds?
They had two separate beds in the one room. It was separated. I didn't understand how things worked, how the baby came, but that's a whole different story.
They probably had their nights when they were both on one bed, and then you pissed me off going to the next bed.
But they had you know, back then, you know, a lot of the shows back then they had two twin beds in the
I
room.
mean, I grew up in the country in Jamaica, so that was a regular thing.
Yeah.
But one of the bed is parents and one of the bed is kids.
Yeah.
So that's different. But
Yeah.
And then it's like if you're mad at each other and you're sleeping in separate rooms, yeah, it gives you space to think about it. But say in the middle of the night you thought about it and you feel good and you want to hug your person, you don't want to have to get up and go walk to the room. You just want to roll over and
some people don't like
Cuddle.
No, man. You remember what they do, man? You just you push
your booty on it. Yeah,
and
push your
stuff,
booty
you
on
know?
it.
And just feel a little bit. you know?
Yeah.
But some people don't like cuddling. I mean, I get
Well,
that.
well, I mean, if you're in a relationship, you know what your person likes. You know what I'm saying? You know what your person likes.
But there's some people that get married and then find out things afterwards. That's
Something like cuddling.
Yeah, because
You
Listen,
what is he talking
listen. Anybody who gets married that finds it out after,
It
they
should
just
not be
didn't
married.
date.
Exactly.
They just didn't date.
Exactly.
They really needed that counseling before that marriage.
Because I should know that once I push this booty on you, everything that we was mad about is all over.
So all right, so like since you touched on that, so now you have a child in the
Equation.
whole situation in the equation. Yes, that changes a lot. I don't have a child, so I can't comment much on that, but I could tell from outside looking in that vacations are not the same. Going on dates are not the same. Hanging out is not the same. Having sex is not the same. Nothing is the same once a child gets involved. So from the two people that have kids, how does the child change the whole dynamics of the relationship?
I can speak from a perspective of just being in a relationship. I never been married. But when I had my daughter, I must say that if we had did our research beforehand, we didn't have a hard time. Things change, yes, as far as like intimacy and when the baby's really young and they're at that stage where they're up every 2 hours and you can't even have sex as a woman until 6 weeks. That's like the trying times. But if you have a strong connection with your person, they're not gonna make you feel like you're just doing this by yourself. I think for me as well, and I was watching an interview with Michelle Obama. She was saying that the hardest times of the relationship is when the kid is from when they're born to that first 8 to 10 years, because so much things change, your schedule change, everything changes, and you're arguing more. You have more disagreements, and if you're intentional about what's going on, like you're going through this process, and we know that it's not going to last, you're more capable of fixing the situations and making less issues in that dynamic. For me, intimacy was better because we would sneak it. And then date night, it's like we're going in on date night. Like we're doing shit. We're acting like we're 16 again. We coming home and it's like, where the hell is the clothes at? So I think in that aspect, once you love each other, you have that strong connection with each other. You know that, okay, we have this responsibility, cool, but we still are one. So you kind of have to have that separation as well.
Okay, so I always feel that sometimes to sort out a situation, you go right back to the foundation. And so we have to go back to that question that you talk about dating before marriage, sex before marriage and when to have it and that sort of thing. And so when to have it is very important because anything can happen.
Yeah,
a child can happen, right? When that child happens, it's like, are you ready for it? I'm not ready for it. And you go through all those things. So it's one of the things that cause the things that could be avoided issues.
Right.
Yeah? So that's one. Also, too, I think when a child comes along, like in every relationship, what helps it is communication.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get to the point and then you find out like where the struggle is. And so what needs to happen in a relationship at all the times that you have to feel your partner.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to know, even though he's not verbally communicating, you know that he is saying stress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you have to be able to read that
Mm-hmm.
and say, okay, let's talk.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to get to the point to work on a strategy together and say, okay, I'm going to take care of this, you're going to take care of this, whatever, and you make it work. And, you know, as you said, date nights. When I was married, every Thursday night,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what happened, myself and my ex-husband, we made sure that it was our night. We made it our night. Even if we had to stay home that night, we made it. Like literally, like said, it's Thursday. You know what I mean? Like it was something to look forward to. So, you know, that's just different things. You communicate it. You have to read your partner. You have to understand that, no, this is work, you know, and then it will just flow.
It just flows after
and
that.
then you do a lot of stuff with the child, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the children, you become very involved. And so your lifestyle becomes
Around
that.
it.
Okay.
Don't allow spouse to be doing dating on their own, you know, going out on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Don't encourage it. I mean, there are just sometimes you're going to want to chill with your boy, you're going to chill with your girls, but it can't be all the time.
Yeah.
You know, that's a no-no. And so that can be the escape. You know, the escape has to be with you.
And we have to remain a team.
Yeah.
Once you have that mindset, we're a team, we gonna win this game.
What about the child influencing either parent? Like, you know, in certain relationships, the child will go to mom to hear this yes and
That's
to
the
dad to hear
funniest
that
thing.
no. You know, and then you guys have to be
On one accord.
that team to be like, yo, we agree? Okay, this is what the answer is. You know, I think a lot of times, especially when the separation happens with the parents, the child plays on that if they know how to. So if you don't know how to work together in that aspect, and that they always say, if you're supposed to choose between the children or each other, like where does your focus go? Who's more important? Each other or the children? And I personally always think it's each other first, because you're the head of everything, and they're the tail that follows. So if you guys, the leaders, are not seeing eye to eye and it's not going good, everything else that follows is going to break apart. You know what I'm saying? So I think if you got to choose whose happiness comes first, and I think it's always going to be each other.
I think growing as a couple, once the kid starts to see, because my daughter used to have this, habit when she would see me and her dad, you know, just hugging each other, kissing each other, whatever. She'd come in the middle of us and like try to part us. I'm pretty sure your son's done that before.
My big son. I mean, when my father, if anybody came and hugged me, he would just come. If it's not his daddy,
and just part it. And I think it's important for them to see that structure, that structure and that dynamic within their parents, because they're going to know that mommy and daddy don't play about each other. So it ain't no way I could really try to play none of them, you know? So, and then, but if they see you and y'all never intimate, y'all never having conversations, you guys are never laying on a couch hugging, you guys are always separated, they're going to say, okay, well, mommy, I'm going to talk to mommy about this, and I'm going to talk to daddy about this. They have to know, I think as kids grow, they have to know that you're a team. And even when you co-parent, they still have to know that, okay, when mommy and daddy comes around each other, they still have that connection to where they're the leader. They're at the top.
So what do you think about showing certain affection in front of the kids?
I think it's fine. I mean, as long as you ain't doing no crazy
not
of the
sexual stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's very, very important.
Yeah.
I think it's very important. I think it makes the kid understand what love is and what they need to do and what they can get. And I think it's very wholesome in the family. It brings it breathes an environment with happiness.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So I'm all for that.
I never really saw that.
Yeah. I would see growing up, you know, with my stepdad and my mom, you know, them being together and whatever. But then also I will also see on TV where kids would be like, ew, gross. And obviously as a kid you think of it that way, but when they start to get into the hormonal stage and they start getting their little boyfriends and girlfriends, they now have a new outlook on love. They're like, oh, this is what mommy and daddy was feeling. This is normal. Right. You know, they know how to kind of navigate it.
that it's now tax season. And this tax season, the best place to get your taxes done is at Spectrum Tax Group. We've specialized in doing taxes anywhere in the US. It's very convenient. You can do your taxes just from your mobile phone with your mobile app. You can log on to our Instagram at Spectrum Tax Group. That's SPECTRUMTAXGROUP. That's Spectrum Tax Group on Instagram. You can log on to our website at spectrumtaxgroup.net. All right? So if it's this tax season, you need a good, reliable tax person, hit us up over at Spectrum Tax Group. We'll take good care of you, all right? So now let's jump into something more contrasting where we talk about solving conflicts in a relationship. How do you, we don't learn conflict resolution as Black people mostly because we're very impulsive, we're very emotional about a lot of things. So I don't think we learn how to resolve conflict. I didn't learn that. I don't know about everybody else, but I personally had to learn that later in life, like late 20s, maybe mid 20s, try to figure out how to solve conflicts with friends or family or even in a relationship. So being in a relationship with somebody, whether dating or marriage, right? How do you go about solving these problems, resolving these conflicts without it just going along for 2 months and 2 weeks or a certain amount of days? You fix it now, or when you cool down, the next day we'll talk about it, or next hour we'll talk about it, or whatever.
She's looking at me. Okay, I'll go first. Well, I think the first thing is that this is what, every test is what makes you stronger. And so this is how you know if the person is really into you. If you're dating a guy or a girl and they don't want to solve a problem, it's because they just don't want to solve it. Sometimes it's not because they don't know, they don't want to solve it. They don't want to deal with it because they don't care. They're only there for one reason. I don't know what the reason is, but they're only there. And they're just some people. A lot of times, I have girlfriends, they'll call me, which is very few. People that will talk to you and stuff, and they will say to you, X is Y, he's just not listening, she's not listening. And the fact is that they don't want to listen because they don't want to change. That's not on their agenda. So you have that. Those who are really in real relationships and really want to solve conflicts, during the relationship, you have to know your partner. You have to know your partner. You have to know what works. For me, sometimes I shut down.
Right.
I can't talk right away. Some people just want to tear you apart. I shut down. My partner needs to understand. I need to give her some time. You have to read your partner. You have to read your partner. And that's what I think a lot of us don't do.
Yeah.
We are so accustomed to treating A like how we did with B.
Or this one size fits all.
One side. And there is no black and white in anything in life.
Right.
There's always gray.
Yeah.
Sure. If somebody did this is exactly what it is.
Right.
No, baby.
Yeah.
There is a gray area because everybody's personality is different.
Does it depend on the level of the problem, the type of problem it is? Because then, let's say, for instance, one of the worst things you can do in a relationship is cheat, right? Let's say cheating happens. Do we hash this out right now? Do we still go ahead and talk about this? Or this is just, all right, this happened, we don't even need to talk about it?
I think for everybody it's different. I think, and it really for everybody it's different with where you are in your life, how you want to do it.
Cheating is sometimes a non-negotiable for some people.
Yeah, it's just
really
non-negotiable. And
yeah.
Guess what happened? You probably dated a girl before and she cheated on you, but then you date another girl and she cheated on you, but you're on a different level.
Mindset,
You know, what was the reasoning? Like, how much do you really want this relationship? So people cheat for different reasons, yeah? And so, it just depends on what happened now is because of this black and white, oh, a cheating happened. All right, so we're done. Nobody sees that gray area. But how much do you really want this relationship, right? Is it worth fighting for? Like, what was the reason? Was it something that I wasn't given, or you weren't given, or whatever? Is that what brought it down here? Were you speaking to me and I wasn't hearing your love language?
Right.
You know, that kind of stuff. So
I honestly think, like for me personally, I don't like arguing, like back and forth shouting. And I always tell anybody I'm dating, I always tell them, I'm like, listen, first of all, don't ever call me out my name. That's something that you will never get away with. I always tell you, at the first stage of dating, call me by my name, or if you want to say babe or whatever you guys do, that's what you call me. Don't call me no nigga, none of that stuff. No disrespectful terms. Don't call me on my name. I will not do that. I will do the same for you,
Right.
because that language now breeds more anger.
Yeah.
Don't cuss at me unless it's in a conversation. You might throw one cuss word or two, but cussing at me doesn't solve anything. It just makes the emotions heighten more. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't like that back and forth arguing, because I feel like if you're arguing and I'm arguing, then we're not hearing each other.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And then you have your perspective, I have mine, and we're not compromising at all with the arguing. Now, when we calm down, a lot of times when people argue, if you realize, a lot of times when people argue, when the argument is done, there's no compromising or talking about it after the argument.
Yeah.
After the argument, nothing is resolved,
Yeah.
but you're going to move forward anyway without actually resolving that before, all right, we take the next step after this argument. You know, I'm cussing you about, oh, you left the plates in the sink, but the plates are still in the sink after you finish arguing.
So that's very, very important. I'm going to interject with that, because a lot of times things come up after the argument because it was never resolved. And somebody said, what we spoke about, but we didn't speak about it.
Argue about it.
You probably spoke about it, but you didn't hear what I had to say. There was no resolve. There was like an overthrow, but there was no resolve, you know. And so having an argument and a conversation are two different things.
Yeah.
So, you know, we got to get to the point where if I'm in a relationship, I'm not one of those that's gonna, you know, one of those women that just keep
Yeah.
because I want
let
to,
it
I
go.
hate arguments, right? So I want to know, when we talk about it this time, don't come back and ask me about it again. Because I'm gonna have a conversation with you, and we're gonna get it hashed out.
Yeah.
Don't bring it up again, because I'm not gonna
I've been in
answer.
situations where the person tried to argue with me, and I would be like, you know, I'm gonna just take a walk. I'll be back.
Yeah.
And then when I come back and try to talk about it, we talk about it and have an understanding, but her head is not resolved because the argument didn't happen. She's so used to having arguments instead of conversations that she had no idea what to do after that.
And I think it goes into just getting rid of those toxic patterns, because that is a major downfall in relationships. Right. And for me, even someone that's practiced meditation for the last 2.5 years, I've learned just how to not even argue with myself. Because it's like, that energy that it brings up is just, it's a waste of energy. You know, you get a headache, you all these things just surface, and it's just not healthy. For me as well, I practice the let me just go and sit down and talk about it. And what I've also realized is, even if naturally, right, we're humans, right? Even if naturally we do yell and we have an argument, 9 times out of 10, the things that were said in that, it wasn't supposed to be said the right way, because your emotions was what was talking. So I've also learned that, because it's been so many times that I've even realized within myself, and I pat myself on the back, to where I have a situation and I feel some type of way, and I have to literally say, before you say this to him, articulate this the right way so that he can understand it in how he receives. And it's helped me so much, and it's been so much more healthier.
What I've done before years ago when I was younger, I did it twice, and after that I just never did it again. Was in the argument, I was so angry and emotional that I said stuff that I didn't mean. Afterwards, I'm like, damn, I shouldn't have said that.
Is it that we didn't mean it?
For me,
it's just not right.
For me, it was like, you come at me, how can I go back at you harder?
Yeah, because if they say some crazy mess, it's like, oh, I'm gonna go harder.
I'm gonna go harder at you. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So it was like you said something bad about me. I must see what I can say worse about you, and then it's like look back like, damn, because I can say some hurtful things.
Yeah,
I know that. Listen, I really can. I can hurt people's feelings, and I know I can. So I calm down first.
Yeah.
Because I remember when Twitter just came out, and everybody was on Twitter, and me and my brother Diego was having, like, we joke around about random stuff, and this person just came out of nowhere. You know how they are on Twitter, like they talk about the most wild stuff and getting their feelings about everything, and I lit that person up. That person was crying tears. I was like, you don't mess with me on that level, because I got to come back.
But that was just a regular person. So even if
that's
in
what
those
I'm saying.
type of
Just
things,
the
it's just
emotion
like
made me
yeah.
go back
So it goes to conflict overall, right? Like even when it's business, because he pisses me off all the time. I love you, but like it's stuff where I know I say to him and he's always like, "Urgh." and the stuff that he says to me and I'm like, oh my gosh. But we're mature enough to be like, okay, we have to find a level ground, a medium here, Yeah. So I think it's just like overall how you as a person can handle it,
And I think healthy disagreements are good too.
Yes,
it is good. It is good. And when you said meditation, don't forget prayer.
When you prayer meditation together. Yes.
It changes the world.
I know it changes me, so I know that. And what about the last thing we're going to touch on before we finish off is surviving heartbreak. That's something I don't have no experience.
That's a deep one. We're gonna have to cut that one in half and finish it up later, because that's
like
a good
for
one.
me it's like I think I've adjusted to the mindset of learning to live without everything. Like learning to live without people, things. Like if my hand's supposed to be chopped off, I'm supposed to be able to just move on without it and not dwell on that. If you lose somebody you love, same thing, you're gonna be hurt, but I don't think you should dwell on that for the rest of your life. Feeling sorry for yourself. You get what I'm saying? I feel like you should be able to take whatever punches come and still keep moving. I think what a lot of people do is you put so much investment and so much of you into one person or one thing that that's your lifeline. So if that goes away, everything falls apart. I feel like a lot of people don't have a life outside of their relationship. So when that relationship falls apart, your whole life falls apart because you don't have an individuality in that relationship.
Yeah. I think that it goes back to conflict as resolving conflicts or whatever when it comes to heartbreak, because men and women deal with it and individuals deal with it very differently. A lot of times men, they won't even show that their heart is broken. They hold it inside. And us as women, we're like, we need a drink, we need some more wine. We go through those phases together and we release it. It's been many times that I've seen, and even couples that are still together now or married, that years before they've been married or maybe in the beginning of their marriage, there was some heartbreak there, and it got to the point where it's like they would never see themselves with each other again. But something, some way, somehow, the universe, God brought them back together and they were able to, so I think that yes, it's good to have that mindset of just like, I can live without. But if you know truly in your heart that it's something that you don't want to live without, you're going to work towards it. You're going to work to make it right.
But the thing is, with that heartbreak, when I say heartbreak, I mean like you do something that's non-compromised. I'm not compromising this thing, and you did this, and we're done. Yeah. Like that's my mindset. Like I have these standards where I teach people how to treat me. These are my non-negotiables. If you do these couple things, we're completely.
But think
done.
about it though. If it's heartbreak, if it gets to a level of heartbreak is different from disappointing me and me just leaving you the hell alone,
right?
Or just mistrust or whatever. And heartbreak is a part of mistrust.
Part of that, yeah.
But in order to get to a level with someone to say that they broke my heart, they have to have filled your heart up so much for it to even break.
Right.
So there is circumstances where it's like, this is a no-no, and even your friends and your family would be like, why the hell are you still with this? But if you know in your heart is there and they're there, you're gonna find a way, even if you gotta go to therapy and pray about it, church, whatever it may be, there's a way for it to come back.
Yeah, but like I said, there's some things that's just not gonna come back from. Like at all. Like hell no. Like if you pull a weapon on me, we're not coming back from that.
Well, yeah.
If you cheat, there's no coming back from that. You disrespect my family in certain ways.
But look, see, those type of things is from somebody that you probably wasn't filling your heart up in the first place.
But what I'm saying is, remember, sometimes people don't do that on purpose. You know what I'm saying? And then the heartbreak happens, or that heartbreak is gonna cause you to break apart. You know what I'm saying? A disconnect is gonna happen when that heartbreak happens. So how, like, you gotta understand how do you deal with that, because how a lot of people deal with it. I've seen people like separate from each other, and one person's like hooked on alcohol or drugs. Like we see rum heads growing up in Jamaica. Like growing up in Jamaica, we see men that are drinking rum all the time, and we wonder like what happened. And you realize that there's something that happened in their lives that they're trying to drown out with the alcohol. It's the same thing that a lot of people do when they go through like breakups and heartbreaks. They use the alcohol or the drugs, or a man will use a lot of women to drown it out, or a woman will use a lot of men to drown it out, distract themselves to deal with that. You get what I'm saying? So what the real question is, what do you do to remedy that situation in the case of a heartbreak or a breakup?
I think healing is a big deal, but go ahead.
Okay, so my whole thing on it is you have to always be in tune with yourself. You have to understand what your self-worth is. And the human part of it is that, yeah, you're going to get hurt, you're going to get whatever. Cry if you have to cry. Take your time if you have to take your time. Don't be ashamed of it. But at some point, what you have to do is do your check and balances. Okay, so when I was there, this is what I was doing. This is what was broken. This is what it is. And you put, for me, before moving on, I put everything into perspective. And I'm like, okay, this wasn't good. This is not whatever. And I always believe that there's someone else out there. And if I have to wait and I have to whatever and stuff. So you're healing yourself by talking to yourself, you know, and understanding like, okay, this is what I want. I want this and I didn't get this. And I create this in my mind and say, I can get this, which was so much better than this. Why am I crying about this? So I'm holding on to this. And then you understand that there is a brighter future. So you start healing yourself with that. And so try not to go through the pages and look. You know, find things to do within yourself. Like really try to heal yourself by understanding that I'm going for a different aspect.
So as a person, I hope you don't mind me asking, but as a person who went through divorce, right? And I know that's
hate him. I joke.
None of us can relate to that because we haven't been through it. But from the outside looking in, we know it's not an easy thing to go through because you spend so much time with this person, and you think this is the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And then one day comes like, I can't deal with this no more. I'm done with this person. What's the mindset like going into like, okay, this is a new life now? And what's the mindset like dealing with that?
It was very hard. It was very, very hard. Can I cry? Do you have to?
Yes.
No, I'm good. It's been a lot of years, but no, it was very hard. And the thing was that I didn't necessarily have a community. You know, I mean, know a lot of people, but I didn't have that person, or it was actually the person that I least expected that was there for me. And my mindset of where I am now in how I talk about healing wasn't there then. You know, so it's good to have programs like this that can help people, but it was a gradual stage for me, but it actually helped me to become a stronger person because I had to stand on my own. When I was divorced, my first child, I mean, I left my mom's house and went to live in my matrimonial home. And I had recently opened my business, And then I'm remembering like the first day I went into my apartment as a separated woman from my husband.
Right. Cried.
And everybody left. My furniture was there, and I sat down and I looked out the window, and I'm like, snap! I'm looking at my son crawling on the floor. I'm like, I'm all alone. Like it just like literally hit me. I'm all alone, you know. But every day I told myself I could do this, you know, and I just made my environment better. And I went to the beach a lot. I tried to find things. I found my happy.
Yes.
I just found things that made me happy, and I lived there.
Yeah.
You know, and so you know, it's just a gradual thing. You have to. The most important thing in healing, as I'm talking, is self. Just understanding self. The most important thing in healing is understanding self, knowing self, knowing what self wants, what self needs, and loving you, you know, and having for me, a good relationship with God, knowing that no matter what, He's always with me.
Yeah. I have a question. How was it for you? Like, did you take like a good time off from the dating world after you had your divorce? You moved into your apartment. Did you say, I'm giving myself a year to just find self and heal properly before I start to date again?
I didn't have a conversation with myself. I really didn't. That was like the furthest thing from my mind. A relationship, to be honest. You know, I was just dealing with day by day by day. You know.
But I'm pretty sure you out on the road and somebody try to, you know, and in your mind you're like,
listen,
I can't deal with this right now.
Even with my belly.
Yeah.
Even when I had my belly, you know. But yeah. But the focus was, I don't know if it was like necessarily there right away.
Yeah.
You know. I think the focus was more on just trying to get me back together, you know, and just finding that new space. I was really in like a really new space. I mean, I don't know if you can really picture it. You're not just divorced, but you're divorced with, I was like 28, 29 when I was divorced. That's a young age, yeah. And I had just opened my business like 2 years before. And you have a little child. You're talking about being
a tunnel vision. I already know you're on tunnel vision.
You're talking about being in a relationship with a child and how little it can be. Yeah. It was just like, this is where my focus was. You know what I mean? But eventually, I think the person that warmed my heart the best got the better of me, you know, and that's how that moved in. It wasn't like it was a plan.
Like he wasn't intentional to date.
Yeah. To date, it was the person that was there. It was the person that just made it right.
Yeah.
That allowed that to happen.
Made it easier.
Yeah.
That's important. They got to come into your life and make life easier.
Yeah.
I say that all the time. Yeah. I'm not taking up no burden. Like, don't come here with your baggage. I can't carry nothing else. My hands are full.
Well, that's a topic that's very important for like the next thing.
That's why we're gonna have you come back on.
What kind of baggage can we have? Yeah.
So Shan,
Hey everyone, we are taking a quick break to let you know about Skyless Hair Studio located right here in Tamarack, Florida. So if you're in town and if you know anyone that need any hair services, we specialize in healthy hair, hair care, extensions, cuts, colors, and pretty much everything except for braiding. So reach out to us, Skyless Hair Studios here in Tamarack, Florida.
I'm gonna get
Oh yes, so we're getting into Stretch's Corner. This was so good.
Yeah,
this was so
I really wanted to keep going.
Good. I know, guys. We're running up on time, so we'll get into Stretch's Corner.
So, with my little topic today, was the topic with Chris Brown, where I still see people talking about the whole thing that happened with him and Rihanna. I think that happened when he was 19. happened when he was 19 years old.
And how old is Chris now?
He's probably like
30,
33.
yeah, somewhere
Wow.
30 in his
Was
30s.
that long ago?
33,
Yeah.
34.
Wow.
I feel old, but yeah, he's in his 30s now, and there's venues that he still can perform here. There's award shows that he can go to. He did a collaboration with Chloe the other day on her album. The
Yeah.
song's fire.
Yeah.
And people still saying, why would she do a song with him? He's an abuser, blah, blah, blah.
Ugh.
And he made a post saying how people still go at him for that. And Blueface is in present day beating Krishan's ass.
Right.
And
Everyone is
entertained by it.
Yeah.
So I just didn't understand why people condemn somebody for a mistake they made when they were like even that young. You get what I'm saying? Like I feel like people don't give people enough grace. To move forward. Like everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that are judging him are making worse mistakes. What his is just magnified.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. And a lot of people that are judging him that much now, when their time comes, they're gonna want the same grace that they didn't offer to him. And that's.
And I'm pretty sure a lot of people that's judging him now, they've done this. They've been in the same predicaments. Just it wasn't highlighted like him because he's a superstar.
Right.
You know, I believe that it's real messed up, especially because he was so young. He's made so much more great hits. He's had kids since then. I think he's on his third kid or second kid. They see how much of amazing dad that he is. He's all about his business. He's never been in any drama after that, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, so I just think it's just hating. I think it's probably some type of inside job that we're not realizing because you got to give people grace. The man was 19 and Rihanna was about the same age. You know. Back then, you say stuff to each other, you fight it, you think it's normal. And yes, it was bad in the moment, but so much time has passed.
And the worst thing is, even when he told the story, it was like Rihanna was putting her hands on him. He just
Rihanna's an island girl. Yeah.
he just retaliated.
I just had to grow out of that lifestyle.
And like I'm saying, like you're seeing that now with these two fighting on social media, and people just take it as nothing. But you're condemning him for the same exact thing. I just understood that. Kurt, what you think?
I just think we'll just always have haters. And people just want to be heard. And sometimes, sometimes there's a plug that's pushing certain things for a certain agenda that we don't understand, especially in that arena. I think we need to just. I'm even shocked at that story.
It's still there,
And it's also the topic of abuse, where, like I said, that's magnified with those two, Krishan and Blueface, and it's like I don't think people realize that that's not something that needs to be like publicized.
It shouldn't. And these social media, whatever you call them, blogs, whatever, is making it. It's overdoing it. Yeah, it's too much. It's too much. Yeah.
So everybody likes negative.
Yeah, they feed off the negative, and that's the sucky part of it.
Yeah, also you gotta learn to live in the day and age with that.
Yeah.
For me, like. If you go on my Explore page, it's all working out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the stuff I like.
Yeah.
So that's what shows up for me. I unfollowed all the blog sites. I don't follow no Shade Room, no Spiritual, none of them.
Yeah.
I keep television. So, Miss Shan.
So we're gonna go in today's quote, and today's quote is, "The bad news is time flies. The good news is you're the pilot." I love this quote.
And then you're going to start with talking about the quote.
I think this quote is good also for this episode as well, in dating. I'm going to just refer it to dating because it could be wide range.
That's what I was going to do too.
Yeah. You could be dating someone for years and not get nowhere in the relationship, never travel together, never really explore one another. And both of you guys just wasn't piloting the relationship the right way. But if you really pilot your relationship, time slows down and you get to enjoy the great times and the moments and just all that good stuff.
Like, have you ever been dating somebody and you look back and you're like, damn, it's been 2 years.
Yes.
It's been 3 years, and it's like time really goes like fast, especially when you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like you said, like I want to look back at. If I spend 15, 10, 5 years with somebody, I want to look back and be like, these were some good 5
years. Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? I want to be able to be in control also of a lot of things that happen within those 5 years, not just be on autopilot. A lot of times when we're on autopilot, we don't have a direction in which we want nothing to go in with life, with relationships, with nothing. And I talked about it in therapy today where she wants me to start journaling and doing all these things. And
Best thing ever.
I love
Right.
journaling.
And that gives your life direction
Yeah.
as to where you want it to go. I have my vision board, yes, but you still need a day-to-day.
That daily journaling.
You get what I'm saying? And like you said, it makes time slow down.
Yeah.
Now that you start living more. And having a partner to do that with has to be able to understand that too. You know? So, what do you think the quote? A little bit on the quote.
I think the quote is so spot on with what we spoke about today, and you know, and as I said, the most important thing is you understanding you, piloting you know, and stuff. And so once you can pilot you, nobody can have control over you. And you know, the most important thing is to be.
Because a lot of people are not in the driver's seat. A lot of people are not in the driver's seat. They're just sitting there and just going on about
They
life.
in the back seat.
Whatever comes, whatever goes, and you just live with it. I think everybody needs to have direction. And that's why I say, when you're dating somebody, I'm going to say this again, I'm looking at the camera. When you're dating somebody, always have things that you will not compromise. Always have things that you want, have a list of things that you want, right? When you're dating somebody also, make sure the person is on the same page as you before you move forward with that person. Because you don't want to wait till feelings get involved and it's hard to get out of that situation. So always make sure that you are on the same wavelength as that person. You know, if you like weird stuff, get somebody who likes weird stuff. Like getting peed on. Don't do it. Anyways, this is how we close out this episode of the Student Life Podcast, where learning and unlearning has no limits. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, leave a comment, share with family and friends, tell somebody about it, and just get the word out there. You know. So we'll see you guys again next week for
Peace,
another
guys.
edition of Student Life Podcast. Peace out.
Later.